The Latex 360, 370, 560, and 570 all use a device called the OMAS. In another video, I explain what the OMAS is and what it does. The OMAS is an advanced media sensor that determines, by taking an extremely rapid series of photographs, the back of the media, and determines, based on the thickness and slip of the media, what the ideal step alignment needs to be, and it controls the printhead swath accordingly. If the OMAS is accurate, and assuming it's clean and it's working properly, it's going to help you be more accurate so that your step alignment is spot on. Now, there's a couple things that affect that, and this is important to understand for panel printing, because there's a common mistake that people make when printing panels, and one of the first things that they do is they fail to have a consistently calibrated OMAS for no take-up and then with the take-up. So when you load a media, like I have here, I've loaded a paper. This paper is evaluated by the OMAS when you load it automatically. If you had something sort of translucent, you'd see this little blinking red light. That red light on the platen is the OMAS in action. Now it has already measured this paper and determined in its mind what the ideal step should be. Now if you were to print a panel job, let's say you have 3 panels. You have the paper hanging out of the front of the printer like this. Now, so for first panel, what you do is you roll it back a little bit, try to have as little waste as possible, and you initiate panel 1. And what you plan to do is you're going to put a piece of tape in the middle, and you're going to tape it onto the take-up roll while it's running, which is an entirely acceptable practice. Problem is, you're doing a panel job. And as soon as you put that take-up reel on, and you have not recalibrated or enabled the take-up reel to account for the slight difference in tension, what that means is your first panel, for the whole panel or a portion of it, it has had a setting for the tension, which is no tension, and then the OMAS is set to a certain setting. Now you've then added tension a third of the way through the job, and then you haven't enabled a recalibration of the OMAS because you're printing while it's running. That's a problem. Or, let me rephrase that, that could be a problem. That would be one of the first things I would look at if you have panel irregularity, is that OMAS has not been enabled on the printer, and as a result, it has not recalculated with the take-up roll being applied. The reason you have a enable on the OMAS or on the panel for the take-up reel is because the minute you tell the printer that the take-up reel is enabled, it recalibrates the OMAS. It says, now that I have tension, I'm going to recalibrate that. So what I recommend, what I do for panel printing, is I usually print the first panel, no OMAS, no take-up reel. The OMAS has chosen what the settings are. And I don't put it on the take-up reel, I let it go to the ground. As soon as that panel's done, I roll it back into the printer, I roll it forward, put it on the take-up reel, roll it forward, make sure it's all on the take-up reel perfectly, and then I roll forward till the next space is where I can start panel B. At that point, I hit enable. Now I'm going to enable the printer to recalculate with the tension what the ideal OMAS setting should be. So panel 1 has no take-up reel and has an OMAS setting of X. Panel 2 has the take-up reel, has an OMAS setting of Y. In theory, those OMAS settings should be the same because it's calibrating objectively based upon the distance it feeds it. But the setting for the OMAS, for the step alignment, might be a little different in each case because I have tension on panel 2. Another way to do this is you roll the whole thing on a critical panel job, roll it down, put it on the take-up reel, hit take-up enable, and then send the whole job and accept the fact that you're going to have some waste on the front end. Or find something else to print on the machine. Sometimes I'll do one set of samples or something. And then I will put the job on and run the rest of it with the take-up reel enabled. Just be aware of the difference. Now in some cases, I've known people that if they're having troubles with length, they've turned the OMAS off. They just said, you know what, I'm going to have a standard setting on all of the panels and I don't want the OMAS enabled. And I have known people that had some results that were good results with that.